Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Deep Space Nine Reactions. I am Fred. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, as we are now up to episode 2 of our Deep Space Nine journey. Um, uh, for those for those who are new here, I am a longtime Star Trek fan. Deep Space Nine is my favorite series, and having an excuse to go back and rewatch it is just a treat for myself, quite honestly, with you. What do I personally remember about today's episode? Will be what I'll be rewatching, commentary, discuss, and so forth on. A past prologue. Obviously, it's the second episode. It is the episode where Nana Visitor gets her familiar hairstyle, the nice short cropped, uh, more militaristic hairdo, as opposed to the big poof of hair that that just kind of made her look, pushing a little bit clownish in the emissary. Yeah, now Kira's head hair has like a dyed red into it. I'm not sure if that was Donna Visitor's natural hair color or not, but obviously it's like a brownish red. And with the red uniform, it kind of is a unique look if you look at, but it doesn't quite work aesthetically, especially with how it her hair looked in the emissary. Thankfully, with past prologue, we don't have to worry about that going forward. Her hair will be her hair will be on point for the remainder of the series, and will look particularly good in the episode crossover. I think that was the name of the episode. And if you know, you know. But we will get to that when we eventually get to that. Other things that I remember off the top of my head about this episode, it is a debut of Elam Garrick, plain simple Garrick. I know he was a member of the Obsidian Order. I also know that his exile has more to do with something that he did to what was the guy's name? Something Tane. I can't remember off the top of my head. And that Garrett goes through a wonderful arc, and in this episode, it begins with him approaching one Dr. Julian Bashir, who is about as much as a blank slate. One thing I'll be able to discuss freely here once we get into the episode is really the hindsight regarding Bashir's character. Since again, I know where these characters eventually end up. Going back and watching this with that knowledge is actually part of the fun here. Um, uh, Other things I remember off the top of my head, the Duras sisters appears in this episode as well, making it the second of a handful of direct next generation DS9 next generation origin characters appearing on Deep Space Nine. Obviously, Picard in the emissary. You have the Duras sisters that will be appearing in this episode. You have Thomas Riker from the episode Second Chances appearing later on in an episode that is actually tied to the entire Dominion, that entire Obsidian Order Tal Shiar Armada. Okay, so you have that, and I'm trying to think. Was there any other characters that appeared on the Next Generation that appeared on DS9? Oh yeah, and Laxwana Troy a handful of times as well. Again, I'm that type of Star Trek fan. um. So with that said, we'll get into the episode here. we're using the DVD copies, it's obviously going to be blurred out and it's going to have that text over it of sorts. So you kind of will be able to follow along there. You won't hear any audio from it because I will be running my mouth for nearly the entire time because that's how I do things here. It's a long form video discussion and so forth. Why am I putting on the mic from this thing? Huh. So anyway, let's get to it. Bloody hell. Won't believe what fell. Yes, it is Dr. Bashir. Yes, introduce yourself, Garrick. Andrew Robinson pronounces the Garrick was like more of a hard sound as opposed to it's Garrick. I'm guessing early on there was a question on how it would be pronounced. Yes, Bashir is so new to the station. He is a very nervous young man, Garrick. Well, he's the only. Of course, he's gonna know of. He, of course, he's gonna know of you, Garrick. You're the only Kardashian on the station. Station. Words, Fred. Words. People say that he's there to be a spy. Yeah. So, okay, so here's the one thing about Bashir and Garrick, and again, this is going to involve a lot of hindsight here. Part of me fully believes into the theory that Garrick found Bashir quite attractive and was looking to, a little bit of spend time with a handsome young man. Nothing wrong with that. Quite frankly, it's I I've seen enough of the shipping of Garrick and Bashir over the past 30 years to realize it's a thing that exists, especially with how Garrick lays his hands on him and that it found him an interesting new friend. So again, right from Jump Street, you got the shipping of Bashir and Garrick. And Bashir being who he is, so young and naive, he's going to go run in Tattletale. And right, Kira's hair is more of a brownish tint here. Again, not nearly as red in the first episode, and with the different hair and the different hairstyle makes her look great. Now, here's the thing: Bashir is genetically engineered, and genetic engineering is outlawed in the Federation, particularly among humans. Superior human genetics, superior human ego, something to that effect. Um, Now I'm willing to bet Garrick may have noticed something off about Bashir because Garrick is someone who lies a lot. He tell is like he doesn't he there's a lot of like reading between the lines with Garrick, and maybe he picked up canonically that he picked up that there was something off about Bashir, that he wasn't as naive as he seems. Again, I'm applying things that we learn later on. We don't learn about Bashir being genetically engineered until like season 5, if memory serves me right. Why are the Cardassians pursuing anyone? There's a there's actually a damn good reason. Especially at this point in the series, the Cardassians are going after the Cardassians don't really bother anyone for like the first several seasons. It's when they get antagonized with Tanalos for example, here, who is part of like the Koma, a freedom fighting cell, quote unquote. Then you have the Maquis. And then you have like, okay, the Cardassians like internal power struggles, things of that nature. Then you have the Klingons going after them, which was all part of a Dominion plot, so that the Cardassians could run right into the arms of the Dominion to give them a foothold later on. So yeah, there is a basically. What I'm trying to say is, for the most part, up until a certain point, the Cardassians are kind of neutral in this series. I mean, there is a. I know that's a kind of a weird way to put it, and no one else will think of it that way. But off the top of my head, unless I'm like really thinking about individual episodes, that I'm kind of hard pressed to think of a time in like the first half of the series where the Kardashians really bother Bajor, uh, or DS9 in general. Like, sure I mean, sure, Gold Ducat pops up from time to time, and that whole thing. And there are numerous episodes with Ducat and Kira, but and the Kardashians are kind of like, leave us the hell alone, we'll leave you alone. Crazy, because again, this is shortly after the Dominion War. They just got exposed at the Minos Corva and the capturing of Picard and everything of that sort. Yeah, yes, the Kardashians want to talk when it suits them. Can't blame them. I want. Can you imagine the issues that come with Kardashians that only appear on view screens and stuff? It's like how much of the cost of the obviously go to the through facial makeup, but in terms of the rest of the costuming, do the actors have to go through the full costuming process if they're just appearing on a view screen? I know it's a stupid question to ask, but but think about that. Like, why would they put him in the full costume if they're just going to film him from one side? Although now that I think about it, why you would is that you need to have them fully costumed, and obviously as they're sitting down and looking into a monitor and stuff. I guess depending on how they crop it to have it appear on a screen within a screen. Yeah, okay. Talk my way talk my way into it. Yeah, the yeah, yeah, the Konma have are kind of like that rogue factions and stuff. And oof, Bashir, excuse me, Cisco, like making it damn clear. It's like just giving her a dressing down right from the jump start here. Yeah, yeah, and Kira has no loyalty to the Federation. It's like, and so what Cisco needs to realize here is that know Kira is a patriot. She only cares about her world and her people, especially at this point in the series. She's not going to trust the Federation or anything yet. It's like it's a growing process. And this is before the entire thing of Cisco being an emissary. Well, with him being an emissary, but it being a plot point, really being a factor. Which amazingly is never really a concern. Is never really a true point of issue between Cisco and Kira, with him being the emissary. Between him and Kai Wynn, it is an issue. That's a whole other headache. Excuse me, in and of itself. Kira, there's no need reason for you to be there and reveal those details, giving him some information. Again, it's an episode that establishes early on Kira at least has her admiration for for guys like Tanalos. There's another guy that comes along, Shakar, I believe, who is again someone else that Kira holds in high regard. I believe when he first appears. I'm not again. My memory's a little fuzzy on that. Now, the one thing about what Tanalo says here that he's not sure as to why he's continuing his war with the Cardassians, but it's something that it is something that Kira does say later in the episode, that when you're spending your entire life fighting, you just don't know when to stop. And Kira going above Cisco's helmet, not off to the side, it's going over his helmet. The Spaceballs reference. Fight me. I believe that is the wife of Leonard Nimoy that did the little cameo there. So here's a question though, since uh, is O'Brien considered the third highest ranking senior officer, at least in terms of seniority? Granted, he's like a chief. He's a chief petty. No, what would his rank be? Because he was a chief petty officer when Worf's father parents appeared in the TNG episode Family. Clearly, he got promoted at some point. Yeah, and Kira, I would have bet Kira did not think that this was going to turn around and come back on Cisco. Yes, and he has a problem. He needs to rein Kira in, make sure things get, go down the way that he intends for them to go down. He's the man in charge. He's only there because he wanted a Bajoran national as his first officer. Yeah, Kira has a lot of fire in that belly of hers. And I love the shorter hairdo and like with the more natural brunette, as opposed to, again, why I have to ask now, why did they have her with that reddish, I'm going to assume it was a wig in the first episode, especially if she's going to be wearing a red uniform. And I've okay, yeah. So the Cardassian goal does appear in person with Cisco in his full uniform. So the answer to my earlier question is, yeah, okay, he did have to go through the full costuming process because he he ends up having a scene in person with Cisco. So there you go. Look, I believe the Cardassians have been insulted quite a lot over the years, mostly because of Glenn Kim and her hollow vid. Again, it's a long Kardashian. Yes, it's a long way to go for a joke there. I make no apologies. And I do have a question in general about the DS9, about the uniforms, because they are quite different than your next generation uniforms, especially in the later ones where the shirts are certainly more of an overshirt. Ro Laren had a version of the uniform top that was unzippable and used as a jacket. The DS9 and Voyager uniforms are certainly more of a jacket, like a utility uniform, more than anything else. And I'm sorry, but those beds like are don't look comfortable. They're like they're like little more than military bunks. It will be like it will be like sleeping on a shelf. Oh, he certainly is. Someone has to work between Cisco and the Bajoran government, and Tanalos having questions as to why anyone else. And Tanalos does make a bit of make a point here that he was a truly independent Bajor. It's like especially after 50, 60 years of the Cardassian occupation and then the Federation. And but there is the thing with the wormhole. There's so many different moving. There's so many moving pieces. And Tanalos is a guy who has a narrow worldview brought on by a lifetime of conflict. Yeah, he does. He wants Bajor for Bajorans. You know what you know what that is? His attitude is though. In general, though, he has a very Trump MAGA mindset. Tanalos and there's other guys that come along here, like the Circle. Again, think, thinking ahead, the Bajor for Bajorans and everything like this. Make Bajor great again attitude, and it's a reason why these people are painted as the villains because they're standing in the way of progress. And and in general, you think about this. Kira's going out of her way. It's like, okay, the provisional government does not approve of the Command. She's going out of her way to make sure it's like, okay, get some amnesty for these guys. They were freedom fighters. A lot of people will consider them heroes to some extent. Absolve them of their crimes and so forth. And in a way, when you think about it, Talos ends up throwing that all away. And Lursa and Betor, our favorite pair of Klingon mountain ranges. They just want to go yodeling in the gully there between both of them. Again, I make no apologies. Odo's makeup is looking a lot better than in episode one. There's some kind of surprised of how cooperative Lursa and Bator are in handing over the weapons, but they're here on business. It's amazing. And the so I kind of got a question though. Where was Cisco during the events of the Redemption 1 and 2, the Klingon Civil War portion? Where exactly was he? Was he a part of that little? Was he maybe in command of a ship during in Picard's little armada, running as like a barricade to prevent the Romulans from getting involved? Odo, you can't lock him up. You can't be totally jackbooted about this. That and Cisco makes a point. They haven't broken any laws. You know they have a reputation, so you just keep an eye on them. And when they break the law, then you throw them in jail. That's how you do things, Constable. Again, one of the big differences between how Odo looks in this episode as opposed to the emissary is that the face is a lot more smoother. Morn! Morn, how's life treating you? Well, it's a Targ world, and he's wearing, and I'm wearing Milkbone underwear. Yes, it's a Norm from Cheers reference. It's just plain simple Garrick. Yes, yes, Garrick. There is nothing plain and simple about you, Garrick. And the thing is, though, he's a wonderful tailor. And it makes sense that Garrick would keep an eye out and on fashion trends. And it's quite interesting of where his choice of seat his choice of seat is to keep an eye on Lursa and Beitor. So the question I have: did the Cardassian ships that arrived, did they, give him the heads up, like, yo, there's something going on here? There's a member of the Comal running around, and then the Duras sisters with their reputation on the station makes you wonder how was Garrick given a little bit of info, pass things along, because we know well, again, someone who has seen the series, we know Garrick has some connections back on Cardassia and such. And this is a wonderful shot. It's like we're peeking in. It's like we're the ones behind a couple of cargo containers. Now, a general question I kind of have, because there's been a theory though that this is where the Jura sisters get the fundages for the for some of the trilithium that they give to Dr. Soren for everything that's happened in Generation. And Odo doing his investigating. The plot ties in. Oh, and Kyrus just seems so happy to approach Cisco to give him an update on the amnesty issue. Yeah, she's rather pleased and happy. But this is but the blocking on this that she's looking up at him, with him looking down at her, with thanks to the Cardassian architecture. But because when him telling her that, like, yeah, don't go over my head again, is like that the angle there just makes you realize that, ooh, she made a mistake. Like little investigation on the side. Yes, there's so much intrigue here. The other thing is that we don't really see a lot of Odo's gimmick of being a shapeshifter, changeling, being used to quite a good effect with him, sneaking around, spying on Lursa and Beitor. And it's something that he would do not as all not as frequently going forward. Obviously, it's a very expensive special effect. Sometimes they do stuff like where the transformations happen off screen. But you know, and we get the inside of Garrick's shop. And you know what's kind of interesting? Garrick's shop actually uh looks consistent for the most part every time it appears in the series, which is amazing because it's not a frequently used set. Now I guess we should talk about the if he's a tailor, why is he wearing like a striped jumper? I mean, granted he has kind of like a vest, but that striped shirt just looks rather juvenile. Would you say it's kind of like a childish looking shirt? And we like look. Hey, trying to do some business. Let us haggle. There's the GIF. There's the inventory word creators like that full turnaround is like, yes, they seem interested in haggling. Kira with that shit eating grin on her face. Think about that. Kira, you gotta feel bad for Kira at this point that she is literally going out of her way to bring him home. And he's busting her chops over it too. Now, like Tana Lowe's has had a few different costume changes, and now she's starting to realize, okay, this guy came after her, came here because he knew here was hair. And okay, yep. Tana Lowe's with the mindset of a typical MAGA Republican. He's basically accusing her for being a collaborator. The violence is over, he says. Or, yeah, he's definitely gaslighting her, which is a shame. Is like again, Hero wants to give from the benefit of the doubt, especially with how he went out of way to make like give an opportunity for him. Like, you know what, you can come home, you get some amnesty, but no, he wants to do something drastic and basically keep a Bajor to being a backwater. But the weirdest thing though, his plan is so asinine because the Federation was going to be on Bajor anyway before the wormhole was there. But again, he mentions earlier that he wants Bajor for Bajorians. He doesn't want Bajor to be uh, a major area of commerce. He doesn't want Bajor to reach its potential, to be a great, an important place in the galaxy. Now, the now Garrick approaching Bashir and roping him into his little scheme is kind of interesting. So going back to what I was talking about earlier, Garrick, um, like having an inkling that there's something more to Bashir. If you know that Bashir has the secret of being genetically engineered, and that Garrick can see through Bashir's bullshit. Yeah. Although again, Bashir being a bit thick-headed, it kind of like undercuts it a bit. But again, it wasn't part of his character. In fact, Bashir virtually had no character for like 5 seasons. He will gradually evolve, but you know he's basically little more than a than a blank slate for the most part. Yeah, how do they seem to you, Kira? Oh, she just lied to him. And Bashir has something to talk with Cisco about. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, you need so much guidance, Julian. You will eventually get it, particularly once your secret comes out. But there you go. By 2055, but because there's business happening at Garrick's shop at 2100. You're going to get yourself a new suit. I do kind of wonder though if Garrick actually did make a suit for him or wanted to have him try on certain things. Yes, he is busy. Like the full the the nice interior of Odo's office. You don't really see the different angles of it over the course of the series too much. You normally see like the one fixed angle from the front and from Odo from behind the desk, but not so much how were we getting like different angles from like the sides and stuff. Yeah, Odo saying there's a special talent to wanting to say something but not wanting to say something. But Odo is a man that one can respect unless he's linking with a female changeling, and then he becomes an asshole. Odo knows a fair amount because how much does he know? Well, there was a file on Kira. Uh, that he probably had access to because he was in charge of security during the occupation at one point in time. Kira not knowing where the Kira's conflict is again not knowing where the enemies are, where like the war. She knows the war has ended, but and and it's like, but what is the enemy? Do you fight the enemy like to keep it? Do you consider a friend an enemy because of what potentially might happen? All right, what you do is you stay guarded and take full advantage of them. And when they start exploiting you, you cut ties off there. Then you have like you can fight against everybody. But key thing here, what Kira just said, that she used to be. Kira Kira used to be exactly like them because she was a freedom fighter. There was a resistance movement, but Kira is a character. It's like the difference between Kira and Tanelos. Okay, I'm just realizing that's what I want to say here. It is that Kira is someone. It's like as soon as the fighting stops, it's like rebuilding a Bajor, and she sees the potential, knowing that the wormhole is going to be great thing. Tanelos is still mindset is still deeply embedded within fighting against overwhelming odds. So that's essentially the two major mindsets. And also Odo saying like, okay, Kira doesn't know what to do, he'll make the decision for her. Well, of course Bashir will be late. But he told him 2055 and he shows up 2 minutes late. Bashir, what the hell is wrong with you? No, at the very least, he is going to try on the suit, and nope, the jacket is a little small. Peek through the curtain, Julian. Yes, and Bashir peeking out and getting all the details. Yeah, there's Inventory looking to get the most out of a situation. A Bellitrium? Dark side. They're going to be on the dark side of the moon. Do you think that there's like what would be the Bajorian equivalent of Pink Floyd? You think they will have a song called Latinum? And can be very explosive. Ah, he stole some. Yep, incapability. Yep. So the big plot reveal that he's gonna nuke something. You can't go wrong. Things sometimes need to be nuked, but not this early in a series. Conspiracy to attempt something. Yeah, Chief and O'Brien is always right. Yes, at least Kira like had that conversation with Cisco off stream, and it's like she's on board with stopping him or trying to prevent, trying to play that role as a double agent. And Gia has said nothing this entire episode. It's a simple sting operation. Get him there. Once the exchange is made, you spring the trap. Ah, Jadzia actually has something to say. And have you ever noticed that every one of the runabouts is named after a river? So it makes me think that somewhere along the line there is a runabout called the Mississippi, the Delaware, and denial. Why denial? Because you'll be in denial if you did not think there was one that was called denial. Probably just Nile, Nile. It's all right. Yeah, Klingon, wonderful decloaking sequence there too. Right in front to the runabout windows. Wait, is it really a window or is it a? No, there is that question is like the window, the front of a runabout. Because there are obviously windows, but but you have like view screens where you know the view screens is not really a window; it's a holographic imager. And there ends the Gerard sisters' entire run on Deep Space Nine. I think at this point they appear on the Next Generation once more, and then in Generations where they get blown up. Intercepting, you just say intercepting 72 seconds. The the That says just seconds. Was that? Yes, it was a trap. Because how did they know Talalos? Because you're kind of short-sighted, Tanalos. Ooh, A big punch to the side of her head. Six colonies on Bajor 8? Here's a question: is though, does Bajor 8 have its, which is a moon? Does it have its own atmosphere, or is there like domes, pressure domes? Like, oh wait, isn't there an episode later on where Kira has to go to a moon to get some farming equipment back? I have a vague memory of an episode involving something along those lines. Oh, Cisco was suit. Are you kidding me? We are a step closer to the debut of the USS Ben Cisco's motherfucking pimpan. He will blow up. He will shoot anything. Yes, finally allies. Oh, Gold Dunar. Oh, he did get a name. Goes to show how much I'm paying attention with the just my running commentary and everything that I'm seeing and the side conversations I'm having with y'all. Yeah, you know what? Goldinar is in the right there. He did say it's like, I told you so. I told you so. Should have listened to us from the start. Because again, the Cardassians at this point in the series, they're not screwing with anybody. They're not going out of their way to undermine the Federation or Bajor at this point. But Cardassians got their own problems. And I do have to comment that the two runabouts look different. One has a little extra little hub on top of it. It kind of makes me wonder: do the runabouts are like spec for different types of circumstances? But the but here's a question. Here's another question though. In terms of collapsing the wormhole, and everything, because the wormhole is considered to be the celestial temple. But at this point in the series, I don't think anyone. Oh wait, they would have established that the wormhole was the celestial temple because that's where the orbs came from the Denorius belt. So would he do this? Would Tanalos take this plan, like the collapse the entrance of the wormhole, and then basically cut the profits off from Bajor? If he knew that particular fact, like, oh, it's just a wormhole, but there's things more to the wormhole. It's basically the source of a lot of Bajor's religions and spiritual and spiritual structure. Again, one runabout has having this nice little arch of it, kind of like the Reliance. Oh, she's quite pissed. Yes, listen to the voice of God. Quite literally, that is the case of the Cisco. Like, you either deal with the Cisco or deal with the Cardassians. And the Cisco might have some mercy on your soul. Might. Even Talalos knows. You don't mess with the Ciscos. Although this is a bit of a continuity shot here because the runabouts are supposed to be facing each other, so why is it shown in the window? Now that bothers me because the runabouts because one they pulled in front of them, and they were facing each other. So why was the Yang Zikian appearing in the I want to say port side window? And Kira's not a traitor. She just evolved. She's moved on. You can tell the conflict in Kira's eyes. God damn, I just had to say, not a visitor was beautiful. Didn't quite have the crush on her as I did Denise Crosby as way back then, but still. And it doesn't quite end on scene, but there you go. Alrighty, so lots of things to talk about, obviously, and we just had like a nice longest discussion. Um, but there is like so many questions and stuff, and it's kind of amazing that I can like was able to run my mouth the entire time. But a lot of stuff obviously established in the course of this episode. Garrick and Bashir's dynamic. Granted, Garrick does not appear again until season 2, and I believe his next appearance, because I think Garrick was intended to be a one and done character, but they was like got such a positive reception for him that he becomes a reoccurring character. But I think the next episode he appears in, off the top of my head, I want to say it's not the one with the implant he has. I think that's also season 2. Is it the one with the Cardassian orphans? I think that's Garrick's next appearance. Because there is that entire. Oh no, wait, not the Cardassian orphans, but Cardassian like bunch of kids who are like Cardassian slash Bajorans. It's like they're half and half essentially. So I believe that's Garrick's next appearance. But that's in season 2. Uh, what this episode does go a long way is basically gives Kira more plot development, more character development in a single episode than Deanna Troy and Beverly Crusher have over the course of 7 years of the Next Generation, 4 movies, and a handful of appearances in Star Trek Picard. Right? Think about that. That when you compare Kira's character development between just 2 episodes versus what how much we saw regarding Troy and Crusher on the especially if you just go show to show, Troy and Crusher and Beverly get virtually no true don't get any major character development. They are often in situations where things happen to them, but like Troy's major character development, the episode Disaster, and um the episode where she goes to become a command go for a commander promotion, where she learns or she basically has that Kobayashi Maru test. That's essentially Troy's character development over the course of 7 years of the Next Generation in just 2 episodes. Fundamentally, she is basically the same damn character from the beginning of TNG all the way through to the very end of it. Crusher gets even less than that. What is because especially in Crusher's case, she has stuff that happens to her. She ends up in the warp bubble. She gets banged by a ghost. She gets drawn into a murder investigation. Because for some reason she gets so involved in something that's not really in her purview as a medical officer when you really think about it. That entire um Frankie shielding episode. I forget the name of it. Top of my head, as it's 9 a.m. But yeah, by and large, there's not really, when you really look at Troy and Crusher, they don't exactly have substance to their characters in terms of their characters growing and development. Troy at least has a little bit more development. Crusher gets not a damn thing. Granted, that has more to do with Gates McFadden being like arguably one of the worst reoccurring main cast members of that generation of Star Trek shows. I mean, you kind of put her on par with Derek Lofton and Garrett Wang as being quite literally the weak links in the cast. Um, Again, it's saying something when I'm saying that yes, Will Wheaton was a better actor than Gates McFadden, and which one of them was on the show for 6 seasons, 6 out of 7 seasons. It wasn't Wheaton. That's just saying. Um. Okay, but besides that, you can tell that I'm not going to confuse me for being a target audience member. Other things about this episode, Cisco's firmness is like you definitely get the more of the impression that yeah you don't fuck with him. It was like when he sets course of a person of action, and when he speaks, Cisco speaks with the voice of God or a god, and quite literally. Again, we know he is, he was, well, not quite an immaculate conception, but through about as close as one could get in the realm of Star Trek. That's for damn sure. But he's when he speaks with authority, you can tell people listen, especially in that scene with him when Kira's praising him, is like, yes, thank you for listening and everything. And he's stepping up those stairs and just like to go to his office, and he just looks down at her. Yeah, make sure you think you keep this in mind when next time you speak to the admiral. And the angle makes Kira look like this little kid who just like, yeah, no, no, she did wrong. It's like, 'cause I doubt she's ever really been spoken to with that type of like chastised in such a manner before. Uh, Zia has very little to do here. O'Brien gets some stuff. Um, and Quark doesn't really do anything, and Jake doesn't appear. But then again, Jake is kind of like Sir not appearing in this picture. Like he gets listed in the credits, but yeah, Jake Sisko does not really appear. He's basically there as a fundamental part to Sisko's character, but we'll talk more about that when in situations where Jake appears, like where the show that side of Sisko's personality to um anything else we want to talk about here. Nope. No, I think that covers everything. Anyway, we'll wrap this up here, obviously. So thank you very much. If you made it through to the very end in my rantings and ravings, just appreciate y'all. Tighten your friendship bracelet. Stay safe. Like, comment, subscribe, especially if you have anything to say in regards to any of my opinions and questions and ramblings here. As uh, we have the discussion below, and we'll see y'all in the next video. Next DS9 episode is A Man Alone, which is actually I remember that episode. It's an Odo episode, and it's a murder mystery where he gets framed. So I definitely remember that episode outright. So and that's gonna be fun to go through and discuss. So anyway, have yourselves a good one. We'll see you next time.